Good morning. Happy Monday. My name is Michael Leizerman here with the Trial Guide's tip of the day this May 15th, 2023. Today's tip comes from the book Recovering for Psychological Injuries by Bill Barton. Here to read it is Bill Barton.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning. Long before you ever enter the courtroom, plan a minimum of two pretrial sessions of at least 1 hour each to prepare an expert for trial. You know, um, I think one sometimes gets a little bit comfortable in your own skin after 500 jury trials, and I think I know how to do this. And I forget that the expert may never have been in the courtroom before. And I make it a point of honor to bring in treating therapists, and often they have master's degrees only. They're not terribly well credentialed like a psychiatrist or a PhD psychologist or PSYD. And I forget sometimes how traumatic it can be for them. So there is something to be said for me going out of my way to be, if you're going to be an effective advocate, you're no better than your witnesses and your responsibility. That's your job. And I forget that sometimes because I think I'm dealing with a professional that's competent. And sometimes it does slip even for me after 500 jury trials that I need to go out there and start fresh with each one.
Bill,
Now,
how do you deal with it when your expert says, I've done this many times before. Don't worry. I don't need prep.
yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't hear that too often, but let's assume that I did. I would say, fine. Why don't you give me a 10-minute preview of what you're doing? And here's some of the things you're going to see right now. And I actually, there's a very seductive way to invite them to become a teacher instead of a lecturer. And that is, I use words, listen to my nosology or my jargon. Would you please share with the jury, doctor? Take us to school, respectfully. And are there any big words we should be talking about before we get started you can't avoid? And it seems to me like doctors like talking about big words sometimes. And by doing that, it kind of empowers them in a strange way. And once we get that out of the way, then they can talk more normally because I've given them their ode or given them their. So there's a lot of ways to deal with that kind of excessive confidence. And I'm not saying that they're not great. You should be, but they probably aren't. And I don't think most experts can grade their own paper, frankly. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. They're used to talking to people that are at least college educated, if they're professors or teachers or otherwise, and they're just not used to communicating at an eighth grade level. And that's not disrespectful. I have the same problem myself. I mean, I begin into my jargon, my nosology, listen to my language. I'm talking like a damn lawyer. And it's important that, and I'm being self-critical here in front of you, but I came from a lower socioeconomic blue collar background. And frankly, I kind of escaped. And I think in ways I was born into Les Miserables, into the sewer. And I escaped because of my ambition and drive and insecurities and became bilingual. And I got a law degree. So I get to go into this courthouse and talk to people, neighbors. And I have to remind myself that I'm talking to real people. And I have to drop this legal jargon and be bilingual. When I'm talking to the court, of course I need the King's English, the words of art. But when I'm talking to people that cry themselves to sleep and listen to country and Western music, they don't need my nonsense. Talk to them, be bilingual. And I think that's the same rule that applies to an expert. And it's not easy because we ourselves often break these very rules, particularly when you're going from the court to the jury, the court to the jury, and you're dealing with an abstract legal concept, res judicata. I mean, really, what does that mean for neighbors? And here we go, a contract to the court and keeping your word for neighbors.
Yeah,
So think about
bilingual, this translating, a pet peeve of mine, and people who even go out of their way to try to translate, because you're right, translating the language of law to the language of the everyday. One of the things that bothers me, I'm curious your thoughts on this. I think a lot of people disagree with me, is, and then we start and say, okay, now we're in voir dire and we speak Latin. I like to say jury selection. Now we're going to
yeah,
select our jury. But there's a lot of things like that where we just
yeah.
take it for granted.
I think so. And I think I'm guilty of that. And sometimes, as I get older and I get older and older, I've become further removed from Gen X, Y, and Z, and they're very techno, and I am not. So it isn't just our choice of words; it's how we communicate. And I'm still kind of a flip chart guy, but fortunately, I have my 43-year-old son as a law partner that kicks me in the knees once in a while and says, "Hey, Dad, hello, have you grow up?" And so we're all freshmen if you're properly rigged to continue to grow, because we are yesterday's news, and these young people grade our paper. Think about that. I'm 75 next month, and I'm having an 18-year-old juror grade my paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And, it's very healthy for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here today, Bill.
I thank you.
Let's now take a deep breath together. And as we do so, just be aware, be grateful to be alive today, this Monday. May the work that we do today help reduce suffering in the world. May our efforts and the time we spend today help repair the world. May we fiercely and compassionately advocate for our clients and champion their stories. I'm going to ring a bell 3 times now. This can take you into a meditation practice, a prayer practice, or just remind you it's Monday. Wake up, go out, do good things, and have fun while you're doing it.